A barista solves a guest's problem in 6 languages. Unaware her customer was a global CEO billionaire. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get into today's story. Have you ever helped a stranger without knowing who they really were? Or done something kind without expecting anything in return, only to find out later that it changed your life? Well, that's exactly what happened to Mia, a barista, in today's story. Let's see how one simple act of kindness led to an unexpected twist in her life. Mia stood behind the counter of a bustling coffee shop, her apron tightly tied, hands moving swiftly between steaming machines and waiting customers. It was a typical Saturday morning, busy, chaotic, and for the most part, uneventful. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air as she worked, greeting regulars and exchanging pleasantries. But then, she noticed him. A man in a neatly tailored suit, his dark hair slightly tousled as though he had rushed to get here. He stood at the counter, looking around, as if he wasn't entirely sure what to do. Mia wiped her hands on her apron and stepped toward him. "Hi there. What can I get for you today?" she asked with a warm smile, hoping to put him at ease. He glanced at her, his eyes a little tired, then fumbled with his words. Could you help me? I'm having trouble with the menu. I don't know what any of these drinks are called." His voice had a slight accent Mia couldn't quite place. She raised an eyebrow, trying to suppress a smile. "No worries. Let me break it down for you." She motioned to the chalkboard above, explaining each drink and its origins with practiced ease, switching between English, Spanish, and French as he mentioned some of the different countries he had visited. Mia was fluent in several languages, a skill that had been both a blessing and a curse in her line of work. The man was quiet but seemed genuinely grateful for her help. "Wow, you speak so many languages," he said, his face lighting up with a smile. "I only know a little Spanish, but it's impressive to hear someone switch between them so easily." Mia shrugged it off with a grin. "It's just something I picked up over the years. A little bit here and there." She paused as she prepared his drink, feeling a bit of pride in her ability to make someone's day easier, even in such a simple way. But she had no idea who he really was. As she handed him his latte, he looked at her again, his gaze a little more focused now. "Thank you, really. I know it's just a coffee, but it's a relief to have someone make it easy." Mia smiled. "It's no problem at all. That's what I'm here for." The man nodded, then reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out a crisp business card. "In case you ever need anything," he said, handing it to her. "I'm Alex. I run a company, and I'm always looking for people who know how to communicate across cultures." Mia took the card, her fingers brushing his for a moment. She didn't think much of it. Another customer offering a card, probably for some business opportunity. She tucked it into her pocket without a second thought. "I appreciate that. Thank you, Alex." He smiled, nodded, and then walked out of the shop, the door chiming softly as he left. Mia watched him go, then returned to her work, pushing the encounter out of her mind. It was just another busy day, but little did she know, that simple interaction would change everything for her. Several weeks passed before she saw him again. This time, he wasn't just a customer. He was the guest of honor at an exclusive event at the local convention center. Mia had been invited by one of her friends to attend the gala, and there, standing at the front of the room, was Alex. He wasn't just any businessman. He was the CEO of a multi-million-dollar tech company, known internationally, and he had been the one to offer Mia a life-changing opportunity without her even realizing it. As she stood there, stunned, the pieces fell into place. She had helped this man, a billionaire, without knowing who he really was. And now he was about to change her life in ways she never expected. After Mia left the coffee shop that day, she couldn't shake the encounter with Alex from her mind. She had no idea who he really was, just that he seemed different. The business card he had handed her stayed tucked away in her pocket, almost forgotten. It wasn't until a few weeks later that her life would take an unexpected turn. Mia had been invited to a charity gala by a friend from college. She wasn't sure why she agreed to go. Maybe it was because she wanted a break from the usual routine, or perhaps she was just curious to experience something different. She slipped on the dress she had bought on sale months ago, feeling underdressed compared to the other women at the event. But Mia didn't care much about appearances. She was there to support her friend and enjoy the night. As she entered the grand ballroom, she was immediately struck by the extravagance. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and the sound of soft classical music filled the air. Guests in tuxedos and elegant gowns mingled, sipping champagne and exchanging pleasantries. Mia stood at the edge of the room, feeling out of place, holding a glass of wine she hadn't even touched. She scanned the crowd, looking for her friend. That was when she saw him. Alex, standing across the room, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit. He seemed completely at ease in this world. He was talking to a group of people, laughing softly, his eyes occasionally scanning the room. Mia's heart skipped a beat as she realized who he was. The man she had helped a few weeks ago was standing in front of her, but now he looked like a completely different person. He wasn't just some guy who needed help ordering coffee. He was the guest of honor. He was the CEO of one of the biggest tech companies in the world. She quickly looked away, not wanting to draw attention to herself. How could she face him now? She was just a barista. A small part of her wanted to slip out of the event and leave before anyone noticed her. But just as she was about to turn around, Alex caught her eye. His face lit up in recognition. "Mia," he called out, his voice carrying across the room. "I didn't expect to see you here." Mia froze, her stomach churning. She didn't know what to say. She had no idea he would be at this event, and now here he was, greeting her like they were old friends. She forced a smile and walked over to him. "Hi, Alex," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I didn't know you were going to be here. I don't usually attend these things, but I thought it would be good to support the cause," he explained with a smile. "How about you? Are you here for the event or just enjoying the night?" Mia hesitated. "My friend invited me," she said, glancing around nervously. "I wasn't sure what to expect, but it's nice." Alex chuckled softly. "It's a little overwhelming, isn't it?" He motioned for her to join him. "Come, let me introduce you to some of the other guests." Mia felt her heart race as he led her through the crowd, introducing her to people she had only ever seen on television or in business magazines. Each handshake, each greeting, felt like a step further into a world she didn't belong to. As the night went on, Mia tried to remain calm, but she couldn't help but feel out of place. She wasn't used to this kind of lifestyle, and every time she looked at Alex, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was in over her head. She excused herself for a moment, stepping outside onto the balcony for some air. She leaned against the railing, trying to calm her nerves. What was she doing here? She had no business mingling with these people. She was just a barista who happened to speak a few languages. Her mind raced with questions. Was Alex really interested in her, or was he just being polite? Could someone like him ever see anything more in someone like her? As she stood there lost in thought, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned to find Alex standing there, his expression unreadable. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice soft. "You seem a little distant." Mia took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. I don't belong here," she admitted quietly. "I'm just not used to this world." Alex stepped closer, his presence steady and reassuring. "Mia, you belong here just as much as anyone else," he said with sincerity. "It's easy to feel out of place when you're surrounded by people who think they have everything figured out. But the truth is, everyone has something valuable to offer. Don't sell yourself short." Mia was taken aback by his words. She hadn't expected him to say something like that. It made her feel a little better, but the doubt still lingered. As the night came to a close, Alex walked her to the door. "I'll see you soon, Mia," he said with a smile. "We should talk more. I think we have a lot to discuss." Mia nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. As she left the event, she couldn't stop thinking about the way Alex had looked at her, the way he had spoken to her. She had always believed she was just a small part of the world, someone who would never make a real impact. But maybe, just maybe, she was wrong. Maybe there was more to her story than she had ever realized. After the charity gala, Mia couldn't stop thinking about Alex. He had said that they should talk more, but part of her wasn't sure if she was ready to dive deeper into this world he was a part of. She was just a barista, someone who lived a simple life, and she never expected to be part of something bigger. Still, she found herself constantly replaying his words in her mind. "You belong here just as much as anyone else." She had never felt so out of place, and at the same time, strangely validated. The next few days passed, and Mia's life seemed to return to its usual rhythm. She worked at the coffee shop, greeting customers, making their drinks, but she felt different. Alex's words lingered in her thoughts, challenging everything she believed about herself. The truth was, she hadn't really had much confidence in her own worth. She had always viewed herself as just a small-town girl who worked at a coffee shop, never imagining that anything extraordinary could happen to her. But after the gala, she started to wonder if maybe she was selling herself short. She had a lot to offer, even if it wasn't immediately obvious. On Thursday afternoon, as Mia was wiping down the counter, she noticed a familiar face walking into the shop. It was Alex. He stood at the counter, looking around, and his gaze immediately landed on her. "Mia," he said, his voice carrying a warm familiarity. "I hope you don't mind me stopping by. I wanted to check in with you." Mia looked up, surprised. She had expected to hear from him at some point, but seeing him in person again made her heart skip a beat. "Of course," she said, trying to keep her composure. "What can I get you today?" Alex smiled and shook his head. "Not for me. Thanks," he replied. "Actually, I came to talk to you." Mia raised an eyebrow. "Talk to me?" she asked, confused. "About what?" "About everything," Alex said, his tone serious but warm. "I've been thinking a lot about our conversation the other night, and I wanted to reach out." Mia's heart began to race. She felt the weight of his words, unsure of what this meant. "I'm listening," she said, wiping her hands on her apron. Alex looked around, as if making sure no one was paying attention, then leaned in slightly. "I've been looking for someone who has the kind of drive and passion I've seen in you," he said. "You're not just a barista. You have so much potential, Mia. I think you could do more than just make coffee." Mia blinked, not quite sure if she had heard him correctly. "What are you saying?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm offering you an opportunity," Alex said, his eyes locking with hers. "I think you should come work with me. Not just as an employee, but as a partner. You've got a lot of ideas, and I believe you could help take my company in a new direction. It's more than just a job. It's a chance to make a real difference." Mia stood frozen, unable to process what he had just said. She was being offered a chance to work with one of the most successful CEOs in the world. But why? What did he see in her? She was just a barista, someone who could speak a few languages and make great coffee. She had never imagined this kind of opportunity could come her way. "I don't know," she finally said, her voice shaky. "I'm not sure I'm the right person for something like that." Alex smiled softly. "I understand your hesitation. It's a big change, and I know it might feel overwhelming. But I wouldn't be offering this if I didn't believe in you. You have the kind of mindset I need, the ability to think outside the box, to connect with people in a way that most people can't. That's why I think you're exactly who I'm looking for." Mia felt a whirlwind of emotions. Part of her wanted to say yes, to take the chance and step into a world that had always seemed so far out of reach. But another part of her was scared. What if she failed? What if she wasn't good enough? She had spent so many years believing that she wasn't special, that she would always just be someone who worked in a coffee shop. "I'll need some time to think about it," Mia said, her voice quiet. "I don't want to rush into anything." "Take all the time you need," Alex said, his voice gentle. "But I believe you have what it takes to succeed. You don't have to stay in the coffee shop forever if you don't want to." Mia nodded, still trying to process everything. As Alex left the coffee shop that afternoon, she felt a sense of uncertainty, but also a glimmer of hope. Could she really do it? Could she step into a new world, a world that had always seemed impossible for someone like her? She wasn't sure, but for the first time, she wasn't so sure she couldn't either. Over the next few days, Mia found herself torn. The offer from Alex weighed heavily on her mind. She couldn't stop thinking about it. The opportunity to work with him, to step into a new world, one full of possibilities, was like a dream she never thought she could live. But then, the doubt would creep in. She was just a barista. What did she really know about running a business or being a partner in a global company? She had spent years working in the coffee shop, living a simple life, and she wasn't sure she was ready to leave that all behind. Every time she looked at the offer Alex had given her, she felt a mixture of excitement and fear. Could she really do it? Could she succeed in a world that seemed so far out of her reach? The more she thought about it, the more she realized how much she wanted it. She wanted to prove to herself that she was capable of more, that she could rise above the limits she had placed on herself. Mia spent the following week doing research. She went home after work each night and read everything she could about the company Alex ran, the projects they were working on, the opportunities they had, and the vision they had for the future. The more she read, the more she realized that this wasn't just about a job. It was about a chance to be part of something that could change her life and the lives of others. One afternoon, after her shift, Mia decided she was ready to make a decision. She couldn't wait any longer. She grabbed her coat and walked out of the coffee shop, her heart pounding in her chest. She had made up her mind. She was going to take the chance. She had to. She had to step out of her comfort zone, or she would never know what she was capable of. When she arrived at Alex's office, she felt a sense of nervous anticipation. The building was sleek and modern, with glass walls and a lobby that felt more like a high-end hotel than a corporate headquarters. She took a deep breath and walked inside. The receptionist greeted her with a friendly smile and told her to wait in the lounge. Mia sat down, her fingers nervously tapping the armrest. She couldn't help but feel a little out of place in this world. But she reminded herself that she had earned this. She had worked hard, she had the skills, and she had the passion to make it. Just as she was starting to second-guess herself, Alex walked into the lounge. He smiled when he saw her, his eyes lighting up. "Mia, I'm so glad you came," he said, his voice warm. "I was hoping you would make it." Mia stood up, trying to keep her nerves in check. "I'm ready," she said, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside her. Alex smiled, his expression softening. "I'm so glad to hear that," he said. "I believe in you, Mia. I really do. You're going to be a great addition to the team." Mia felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had made the right choice. "Thank you," she said, her voice quiet but filled with sincerity. "I won't let you down." Alex nodded, his smile widening. "I know you won't." He led her to his office, where they sat down to discuss the next steps. Mia was given the opportunity to shadow Alex for a few weeks, learning the ins and outs of the company and how things were run. She was nervous at first, but the more she learned, the more confident she became. Alex was patient, guiding her through each task, teaching her about the company, the team, and the vision he had for the future. Mia was amazed at how much she was capable of when given the chance. Slowly, she began to understand what Alex saw in her. She was more than just a barista. She was a problem solver, a communicator, and someone who could think outside the box. As the weeks went on, Mia started to feel more and more like a part of the team. She was no longer just a bystander in the company's success. She was an active participant, and it felt amazing. But even though she had made incredible progress, there were still moments of doubt. She would look at her new colleagues, successful and confident, and wonder if she truly belonged. But every time she doubted herself, Alex would be there, offering encouragement and reminding her of how far she had come. "You belong here," he would say. "You've always belonged here." It was in those moments that Mia realized how much Alex believed in her, how much he saw in her that she hadn't even seen herself. As the months passed, Mia's role within the company grew. She wasn't just learning anymore. She was contributing. She was bringing her ideas to the table, making connections with clients, and finding solutions to problems that seemed impossible. And every time she succeeded, she could feel her confidence growing. She was becoming the person she had always dreamed of being, and it felt better than she could have ever imagined. Months went by, and Mia continued to prove herself in ways she had never thought possible. The once shy, uncertain barista was now becoming a confident, valued member of the company. Each day, she grew more comfortable in her role, whether it was managing a team, leading important projects, or negotiating with clients. Mia was learning to trust her instincts, something she had never done before, but now it felt natural. It wasn't just about the work. It was about how much she had transformed as a person. The most unexpected part of her journey was the realization that she had more power than she ever imagined. The company was thriving, and Mia had become an essential part of that success. The respect from her colleagues was no longer something she had to prove. It was something she had earned. But even with all the progress she had made, there were still moments of doubt. Late at night, after a long day of meetings and decisions, Mia would sometimes question if she really belonged in this world. Would she always be the outsider, the one who came from a simple background? She had started to see her value, but there were times when the weight of imposter syndrome would creep in, whispering that she wasn't truly meant to be here. But every time she doubted herself, she would remember Alex's words, the ones that had stuck with her from the very beginning. You belong here, Mia. You've always belonged here. Those words had carried her through the hardest days. Alex had always been there, guiding her, supporting her, believing in her when she wasn't sure she could believe in herself. Their connection had deepened over the months. They worked closely together, and Mia admired the way Alex carried himself, not just as a CEO, but as a mentor, someone who truly cared about the people around him. It wasn't just his wealth that made him stand out. It was his generosity, his ability to see potential in others, and his willingness to help them realize it. As time passed, Mia began to understand that Alex wasn't just offering her a career opportunity. He had given her something far more valuable, belief in herself. But despite their growing closeness, Mia had always kept a certain distance. She had never allowed herself to imagine that anything could come from their professional relationship beyond work. Alex was her mentor, and she respected him deeply, but she never thought it would go any further than that. She never wanted to risk complicating things with emotions. One afternoon, Mia was sitting in her office, reviewing some project details, when Alex knocked and entered. He looked at her, his usual friendly expression replaced with something a little more serious. Mia, I need to talk to you about something, he said. Mia looked up, her heart skipping a beat. Of course, what's on your mind? Alex closed the door behind him and sat down across from her. I've been thinking a lot about our partnership, about everything we've built together, he began, his voice steady, but with an underlying warmth. I don't just see you as a colleague, Mia. I see you as someone who has changed my life. You've shown me what it means to truly care about the people you work with, and I think it's time I asked you something important. Mia's breath caught in her throat. She had no idea where this was going, but something about his tone made her heart race. What are you asking? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex stood up and walked over to her desk, leaning in slightly. Mia, I know we've been through a lot together, and I want to take things to the next level, both professionally and personally, he said, his eyes locked on hers. I want you to be with me, not just as a business partner, but as something more. I've been falling for you, Mia, and I want to know if you feel the same. Mia sat there in stunned silence. She had never imagined this moment, never thought that Alex, the man who had given her everything, would feel the same way. She had always been afraid of letting herself get too close, afraid that it would ruin everything they had built. But as she looked into Alex's eyes, she saw sincerity and something else. Love, a love that had grown in the spaces between their shared moments of triumph and struggle. She felt the warmth of his words sink deep into her heart, and for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to believe in something more than just success and career goals. Alex, Mia began, her voice shaking slightly. I never expected this, but yes, I feel the same way. I've been holding back, afraid of what it might mean, but I can't deny how I feel. Alex's face broke into a wide smile, and he stepped forward, gently taking her hand. You've made me the happiest man in the world, he said softly. Mia felt a surge of emotion, a mix of relief, excitement, and joy. She had spent so long thinking she didn't belong in this world, but now, with Alex by her side, she realized that she had found her place, not just in his world, but in the world she had always dreamed of. It was the beginning of something new, something she had never thought was possible. Together, they would build not just a business, but a future, one that was filled with love, trust, and endless possibilities. As the weeks passed, Mia and Alex grew even closer. Their partnership in the company flourished, and their personal connection deepened with each passing day. What had started as a professional relationship soon evolved into something much more profound. They spent late nights discussing business strategies, but also their hopes and dreams. Their bond was built on trust, mutual respect, and a shared vision for the future. Mia had never imagined that she could feel so supported, both in her career and in her personal life. For the first time, she didn't feel alone. She didn't feel like an outsider. Alex was always by her side, offering his wisdom, encouragement, and love. The company had seen incredible growth, and Mia had become a central figure in its success. She was no longer just the new hire who had once been uncertain of her place. Now, she was a leader trusted by Alex and her colleagues, and her ideas were shaping the direction of the business. Mia couldn't believe how much she had changed, how far she had come. The girl who had once been a barista, unsure of her worth, now stood at the helm of a thriving company, contributing to its success in ways she had never imagined possible. But despite her professional achievements, it was the love she shared with Alex that made her the happiest. He was always there, his presence a constant source of strength and support. She had never felt so valued, so important. One evening, after a particularly long day at the office, Alex took Mia out to a quiet restaurant in the city. They sat at a small table near the window, overlooking the lights of the city below. The atmosphere was calm, the noise of the world outside muted by the soft music playing in the background. Alex looked at Mia across the table, his eyes warm and full of love. "You've done more than just change my company, Mia," he said softly. "You've changed my life. I never thought I'd find someone like you." Mia smiled, feeling her heart swell with emotion. She had never imagined this kind of love, the kind that made her feel whole, the kind that gave her the strength to face anything. "I feel the same way," she said, her voice quiet but full of sincerity. "You've made me believe in myself. I never thought I could be this person, the one who leads, the one who makes a difference." Alex reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "You were always that person, Mia," he said, his voice soft but firm. "You just needed someone to see it in you." Mia squeezed his hand, feeling a sense of peace settle over her. She had come so far, and now she was exactly where she was meant to be, right beside Alex, in the life they had built together. As the evening wore on, they talked about their plans for the future. They discussed the company, of course, but also their hopes for a life beyond business. They dreamed of traveling, of experiencing new places, of building a family together. The possibilities seemed endless, and Mia couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement about what lay ahead. She had gone from a simple barista to a business leader, from a woman unsure of her worth to someone who was loved deeply and unconditionally. The journey had been difficult, and there were still challenges ahead, but Mia knew that with Alex by her side, she could face anything. It was more than just a business partnership. It was a partnership built on love, respect, and a shared vision for the future. As the night came to a close, Alex took Mia's hand and led her out into the cool evening air. They walked together, side by side, as the city buzzed around them, their future waiting just ahead. Mia felt a sense of fulfillment that she had never known before. She had found her place, not just in the world of business, but in a world filled with love, purpose, and endless possibility. As they walked down the street, hand in hand, Mia realized that she had everything she had ever dreamed of and more. She had a career that challenged and inspired her, a partner who believed in her, and a life that was filled with love and potential. And for the first time, Mia knew that she was exactly where she was supposed to be. As months passed, Mia and Alex continued to build their future together, both in the business world and in their personal lives. The company had grown even more successful, and Mia had cemented her place as an essential part of its leadership. Her role had evolved beyond what she could have ever imagined when she first started. But as their professional and personal lives intertwined, Mia realized that the next step was inevitable, something bigger than business or career goals. It was about building a life that truly reflected who they had become. One evening, as they sat in Alex's office, surrounded by the soft glow of the city lights outside, Alex turned to Mia with a thoughtful expression. "Mia," he began, his voice more serious than usual, "I've been thinking a lot about what comes next for us. We've done so much together, both in the company and in our personal lives. But there's something I want to ask you." Mia looked at him, curiosity in her eyes. "What is it?" she asked. Alex paused for a moment, as if collecting his thoughts. "I want to take the next step with you, Mia. I want to build a life with you, not just a business partnership, but a life that truly reflects what we've created together. Will you marry me?" The words hung in the air, and for a moment, Mia was speechless. She never expected this moment to come, even though she had known deep down that this was the next chapter in their journey. The surprise, the joy, the emotions all swirled within her. She looked at Alex, her heart swelling with love. "Yes," she finally whispered, her voice full of emotion. "Yes, I will marry you." Alex's face lit up with a smile that took her breath away. He reached for her hand, pulling her into an embrace. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," he said, his voice warm and full of love. You're everything I've ever wanted, Mia. You've brought out the best in me, and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you." Tears welled up in Mia's eyes as she held him close. She had never imagined her life would take such a turn, from a quiet barista unsure of her worth, to a woman who had found her true purpose and her true love. Everything had changed for her, and it was more beautiful than she could have ever dreamed. The next few months flew by in a whirlwind of planning, excitement, and anticipation. The wedding was a small, intimate affair, held in a beautiful garden that Alex had chosen. Mia felt a sense of peace and joy that she had never known before. Surrounded by their closest friends and family, she walked down the aisle, her heart full of love for the man waiting for her at the end. As they exchanged vows, Mia realized that this was the culmination of everything she had worked for, not just in her career, but in her personal life. She had found her place, her purpose, and the love of her life. The wedding was the beginning of a new chapter for them both, a chapter that would be filled with love, adventure, and endless possibilities. Together, they would continue to build the company, but more importantly, they would build a life together, one that reflected everything they had achieved and everything they dreamed of. As they stood together, hand in hand, Mia knew that this was only the beginning of their journey. She had come so far, and with Alex by her side, she knew that there was no limit to what they could accomplish. Their love had transformed her life, and together, they would face whatever the future held. It was a future filled with hope, passion, and the promise of a love that would last forever. As the months passed after their wedding, Mia and Alex settled into their new life together, both personally and professionally. They had faced many challenges along the way, but together, they had overcome them all. The company was thriving, and so was their relationship. Mia had grown into a confident, successful woman who had learned to believe in herself, and Alex had become her steadfast partner, not just in business but in life. They had built something incredible together, and they knew this was just the beginning. The bond they shared had only deepened, as they supported each other through both the triumphs and the challenges that life brought their way. The love they had for each other was something they both cherished and held dear, and it was clear that they were a team, not just in the boardroom, but in everything else. One sunny afternoon, as they were sitting in the office discussing new strategies for the company, Alex turned to Mia with a thoughtful expression. "Mia, I've been thinking," he said, his voice soft yet filled with determination. "We've come so far, and I think it's time we take things to the next level, beyond the company, beyond what we've built here. I want to start a family with you." Mia looked at him, her heart skipping a beat. She had always dreamed of having a family, but in the midst of everything that had happened in her life, building the company, growing in her career, and falling in love with Alex, she hadn't realized how much she wanted it until now. She smiled at him, feeling a rush of love and excitement. "I want that too," she replied softly. "I've always wanted to be a mom, and now it feels like the perfect time." They both knew that starting a family would be a new adventure, one that would bring its own set of challenges, but it was a challenge they were ready to face together. Their bond was unbreakable, and they had the love, support, and commitment to make it work. As they began to make plans for the future, they focused on building a life that was balanced between their thriving business and their growing family. They knew it wouldn't always be easy, but they were more than ready to face whatever came their way. Mia had come so far from the woman she had once been, the barista who doubted herself, unsure of her place in the world. Now, she was not only a successful businesswoman, but also a woman ready to embrace the next chapter of her life, one that would be filled with love, joy, and the promise of new beginnings. A few months later, Mia and Alex found themselves standing in a new home, the foundation of the future they had dreamed of together. It was a beautiful house, spacious and filled with light, a place they could both see their family growing. Mia's heart swelled with happiness as she looked around, realizing how much she had achieved. It was more than just a house. It was the symbol of everything they had worked for, the life they had built, the love they had found, and the family they were about to start. As they moved in and began to settle into their new home, Mia took a moment to reflect on how far she had come. She had gone from being a barista with a dream to a successful business leader, a loving wife, and now, a mother-to-be. Her journey had been filled with unexpected twists and turns, but with each step, she had grown stronger, more confident, and more certain of her worth. And as she stood next to Alex, in the home they had created together, she knew that their future was bright. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as a team. Their love had carried them through everything, and it would carry them through whatever came next. They had everything they needed: love, trust, and the strength to build a future together. With Alex by her side, Mia knew there was nothing they couldn't achieve. She had found her place in the world, and it was exactly where she belonged. The future was theirs to create, and Mia couldn't wait to see what was in store for them both. As the years passed, Mia and Alex continued to build a life together that was beyond anything Mia had ever dreamed of. The company they had worked so hard to grow had reached new heights, and their family had grown as well. Their home was filled with laughter, love, and the sound of their children running around, playing and exploring the world. Mia had always dreamed of becoming a mother, and now, with Alex by her side, she had a family that was everything she had ever hoped for. They had faced so many challenges along the way, but each obstacle had only made them stronger, more united. Together, they had created something beautiful, not just in business, but in their personal lives. As their children grew, Mia and Alex made it a priority to be present, to share moments with their family, and to nurture the love that had brought them together. They spent weekends together, exploring new places, making memories, and enjoying the simple pleasures of life. Mia often thought back to the days when she had worked as a barista, unsure of her place in the world. It felt like a lifetime ago. She had come so far, and now she was living a life she had never imagined. But she knew, deep down, that she owed it all to the love and support she had found with Alex. He had believed in her when she didn't believe in herself, and that belief had changed her life. They had built an empire together, but more importantly, they had built a family, a life full of love and fulfillment. One evening, as they sat on the porch of their home, watching the sun set over the horizon, Alex turned to Mia and smiled. "I never imagined my life could be this good," he said, his voice full of contentment. Mia smiled back, her heart full. "Neither did I," she said softly. "But I'm so glad we're here, together, building this life." Alex took her hand and squeezed it gently. "We've done it all together, Mia," he said. "And I wouldn't want it any other way." They sat there in silence for a moment, just enjoying each other's company, the sound of the crickets chirping in the background, the warmth of the evening air around them. It was peaceful, content, and perfect. Mia had everything she had ever wanted. She had a loving husband, beautiful children, and a life full of purpose. She had found her place in the world, and it was exactly where she was meant to be. Looking back, Mia realized that her journey had been one of self-discovery, love, and transformation. She had gone from being unsure of her worth to becoming a confident, successful woman who had the strength to create the life she had always dreamed of. And it was all because she had believed in herself, with Alex by her side, showing her every step of the way that she was capable of anything. As the night grew darker and the stars began to twinkle above them, Mia knew that their story wasn't over. It was just the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with even more love, laughter, and memories to be made. Together, they had built something beautiful, something that would last for generations to come. And Mia couldn't wait to see what the future held for them as a family, as a couple, and as partners in life.